We are 1 week away, everybody, from the start of our live tour. Football Ramble Time Tunnel begins next Friday. If you think today is a great Friday, you want to be in Manchester next Friday.
It's the next Friday that's coming at you.
Pete Donaldson.
We're going to be in Manchester.
It's going to be huge. It's the first time we've done a show in Manchester since 2019. Don't miss out, people. Get yourselves over to New Century Hall. It's going to be a fantastic opening night of the tour. And Manchester United fans, you've just had a big win, so it's not all negative, is it?
We're going to Harry Maguire you.
Yeah, we are looking back through the years, and the last few years will be included. So do what you want with that.
The fact that we've had to update the Manchester United section already is crazy.
Yeah, we're going to go there before they win the Europa League, though, so we can have a little bit of fun with it, Vish.
Good, I was worried.
I'm just wondering which member of the Ramble is going to buy you a Europa League finalist mug.
I thought you were going to say ticket, and all I get is mug.
Let's be honest, Andy, it's you, isn't it? We're also heading to Newcastle on the 10th of May. It turned out there was a happy ending to the Newcastle United Football Club story this season, so giveaways there. Glasgow on the 12th of May, Birmingham on the 15th of May, and we'll be finishing at the Shepherd's Bush Empire in London on 17th of May. FA Cup final day.
Yeah.
So you can watch the FA Cup final, consider that your warm-up act, and then
come see us.
And then trundle along to the Shepherd's Bush Empire.
It's just a great tour of celebration, isn't it? As you said, we end with the FA Cup final day. You've got Manchester United at the time of recording in a decent spot.
In Europe.
Newcastle, all the glory. Birmingham got promoted, and Glasgow sealed another title, didn't they?
Glasgow sealed another title.
Exactly the way it's
played. Yeah. They'll all be celebrating on the streets.
You can do some of your pop stuff you did on Wednesday's show. Not the smoke and that.
If you think that was edgy, get yourself along to Oranmore in Glasgow.
And let's celebrate together.
Let's all celebrate together.
Let's do it all. FootballRambleLive.com. Get your tickets there. Right then, Vish. Let's go to it. Athletic Club, or Athletic Bilbao, as we affectionately know them.
Doesn't matter what you call them, they won't be here long enough.
Is that their punishment for this performance? They get calls.
A/B testing.
No, we're just going to call them
Bilbao.
No, we're just going to call them Bilbao, Andy.
That's the real punishment.
Sporting Club Bilbao.
I love what you do with ham, with your chilled wine. Just leave the football to us.
They got beaten 3-0 by Manchester United, obviously.
Yeah.
I love the fact that even with that result, with that performance, and with that smile, Ruben Amorim still said, nobody expected this result.
No,
He still has to bring it back to reality.
Well, not after
Just
the
remember.
first 20 minutes. I mean, it was. It didn't look like it was going to go that way, and obviously the sending off was a massive deal. But Bilbao is supposed to be known as a defensive club, and so a defensive team. So when you lose a player like that, you kind of think, well, you're just going to defend for 90 minutes, and they still got through. So it's a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, Garnacho had a goal ruled out for offside early on, and I remember thinking, they've breached them once. Can they do it again? And as you say, Peter. Athletic Club started to kind of dominate the game, and Iñaki Williams went close with a header.
He should have scored that.
He should have scored. Gave an interview this week, I think it was, where
he said, "I'm going to miss it."
He said, "Watch this."
He said it should be easy pickings against this lot. Have you seen how shy they've been? Well, he talked about this sort of sense. He didn't use the word destiny, I don't believe, but there's a real sense of destiny about Athletic Bilbao reaching the final because it's hosted at their stadium. Their captain DeMarcos, he signed an extra year. He signed an extension on his contract, and they said, "We're going to do something big this year." Again, there's a real sense of destiny, and the way they started that game, the way the fans were just so up for it, and they started to kind of exert their dominance. You thought to yourself, "This is only going to go one way."
I think they were too up for it.
I agree with you, and they lost their heads.
Because those opening 20 minutes, they obviously have that chance that we spoke about there, that Iñaki Williams heads over the bar. You've got Berenga's shot that's cleared off the line by Lindelof. Yep. But between that, they were winning the ball off Manchester United by being basically a million miles an hour, and then they were constantly messing up using the ball in those when they won it in those high situations. They were misplacing passes. They were overhitting or underhitting them. They were also just not controlling the ball. And it looked like, I mean, they did have the best of it in those opening 18, 20 minutes, and they could have really done a number on Manchester United, but they couldn't really get the ball under control. And Manchester United were able to win it back almost by accident because they were, they were like running into him at a certain point.
I think your point is absolutely right. There's a bit of Brazil 2014 Belo Horizonte about it, isn't it? It's all about emotional control.
Yeah.
And I
thought we should have got 7 as well.
yeah, he could have. But I think like playing those games in those environments, and it's such a unique stadium and it's such a unique environment, particularly within the realm of Spanish football, that I think to be able to deal with that kind of occasion. And funnily enough, I don't think they've done it brilliantly well. I didn't think they were great against Rangers in the last round. And Rangers, if the Dessers penalty had been given, that could have been different. If you go back to the round before, if Roma hadn't got Mats Hummels sent off after 10 minutes, it would have been a completely different game. So this idea of it being destiny, I think it looms way too large in the head. The sense that this is a one in a generation opportunity. And funnily enough, of all the things that Manchester United have got wrong over the last few years, I think what they've done really well in this Europa League, they've just played sensibly. Like nothing they've done really has been that flash. I know you can talk about the Lyon game. Okay, that's the exception that proves the rule, perhaps. But on the whole, they have played quite sensible football. And I think all the teams that have got beaten by United up until this point are going, shit. How did we let that happen?
I know.
How did we let that happen? Because I don't feel that United, and this was a good performance, and I felt they were really good for the first hour in Real Sociedad, but I don't think they've done anything that spectacular to get where they've got, and I don't feel that there's a massive ceiling above them to get better either.
But they won't need to, Andy.
But they won't need to, exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. And the emotions did run high, and when Harry Maguire turns into a jinky winger.
Yeah, when I said they can't get much better, I'm accepting him from that, obviously.
The only
Good
thing
on Cafu out there.
Yeah, the only thing that did annoy me about this, and I always support the English sides, as you know, in Europe, the only thing that annoyed me is when Manchester United...
He crossed it to an Argentinian.
There is that. No,
Maybe not on purpose?
No, because I thought to myself, unless something goes wrong for them in the final, which we all assume they'll be in, then we're not going to see him up front again in this competition. Are we?
Why not, though?
Well, because they're in front, Peter. They put him in last ditch. So that's, but we saw him on the wing. That was good. And as Bruno Fernandes said, what a winger. I don't think he even knew he had that in his locker.
He's got one of them in his locker.
Yeah, exactly.
He can do it at least once, I suppose.
It was so mad, but it also showed.
What was he doing there?
But it also showed how it's like the meme of what's a polar bear doing in Arkansas. Yeah.
It's that caterpillar in Hawaii that collects like flies' legs and beetles' heads and just sticks them. Just bring him on the field. Yep. Where's he going to play? Who knows? Only him.
I'm unaware of it, but I'll take your word for it.
The bone collector. It's called.
But the. He also, look, as well as he did, he also showed you how good modern day wingers are, because it happened at like half the pace.
It was so on it.
This is what you do. You put a right footer on the right side, you put the ball in the box, you get the goal. Yeah. Stop pissing around.
Because even the defender was like, so the thing that Maguire does really well is, as soon as he finds the first bit of space, he fakes that cross. Because the defender's clearly thinking,
he's going to cut inside.
Mate, you've not got this in your locker. Cross it. And then he goes and then comes back and creates even more space by doing that, which is why players do it. And yeah, it was really, really quite impressive.
Lolloping, lovely lollop.
The fact that he was even there, and it came from the recycling of a set piece, spoke to the fact that Manchester United's plan originally was, we've just got to try and soak up as much as possible and hit them on the break, or... We're not good at the break, so we'll have to do it from set pieces.
Well, what do we think of Casemiro turning himself into the guy?
He's been pouring Lucas on his last couple of games. I don't know what's going on.
So I made this point during the Lyon game, which is obviously a chaotic game and not exactly the kind of game that you would, riff on the glories of a defensive midfielder. But he obviously plays a huge part in Manchester United coming back into that game. And part of it is because he had the energy in extra time to do that, because he's got someone next to him now.
Well, I mean, he had a bit of a rest, did he? I mean,
Rio was right. Carragher was being disrespectful about football leaving you.
Yeah. No, but he wasn't. He wasn't, was he?
That's the thing. Nobody can take... When someone says, I think maybe his time's up or something, you're just looking at the situation.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, well, there we are.
But United have done that quite a lot in recent years. Now, Maguire's another good example of that. A player who has been set up to fail by the system around him. And I think Casemiro falls into that.
But I think the media were way too harsh on Maguire. And I think the media were probably spot on. The sort of the general reactions with Casemiro, because there was a guy who's won a few Champions Leagues and it looked like his legs are probably gone.
Yeah, you see, I don't know about that, because I think every time you're in a position where you're over 30 and you have a shit half season, people are going to say your legs have gone.
But
really, there was.
But it was the manner of his performances, though. It was very pedestrian.
Yeah, sure. Because
he was isolated. So the point, I totally agree with you that I'm not saying that I was here defending Casemiro when he was having the
play back the tapes.
Awful. How long have you got? But the point was that you can't leave him.
Well,
on his own in the middle, and Ugarte, who's come in and actually been worse on the ball in recent times, but has offered him, an ally in terms of someone, it's not just you running around like a headless chicken. I'm also doing it as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like in this game, it also happens to be that Ugarte gets a couple of assists as well.
Indeed, he does. But I mean, so Casemiro scored, as you say. It's not what he's there for, but it's a nice sort of, I suppose, if maybe the word isn't vindication, but it's a feather in his cap to show the performances have been much better from him in recent games.
But you know what? It doesn't matter whether he is the medium-term or long-term solution. And it's the same with Maguire. It's the same with a lot of those players. Like Manchester United's medium-term future at this point does not matter. It's just about winning this competition.
It's all about winning.
It's about mend and make do, isn't it? With that squad, they can't bring in loads of people, so you may as well just try and get a tune out the ones you've got.
Absolutely. And if they do win this cup, which you think they will, then they'll have to strengthen, because you don't want to.
They're your favourites now.
Oh, absolutely. But going back to the game, Casemiro scores, and as I say, it's great for him to just show how his performances have been improved in the last handful of games or whatever it's been. And then comes the moment which changes the tie, when the ball, it's another excellent ball into the box, and Rasmus Højlund is fouled. And I mean, well, did you think it was a penalty? Because I did.
Yeah.
And if it's a penalty,
it's open and shut. It's open and shut,
and therefore it's a red card.
Totally. But it's one of those red cards that supporters and players feel instinctively shouldn't be a red card because the penalty has been given.
Yeah.
But it's open and shut. If you know what the current rules are, that is the most clear red card you will ever see in your life.
It's Dogzo Andy. Well, it is, isn't it? That's why he's been sent off.
No, because
I'm just checking if I got my intercom.
It's intent, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he showed intent to get the ball, then it's not Dogzo.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Exactly.
He was like a DPD driver in a built-up area.
Yeah.
Smashing in.
Using his horn after 11.
Using his horn after 11. Knocking on doors.
I know. I thought Højlund, was the way he's kind of dived in, I suspect he has slightly exaggerated it, the way the hand is on the shoulder.
But but also to get onto the end of that kind of cross, he would have to have, reach for it anyway.
I mean, there was a bit of debate of whether he would have got on the end of it or not, but
it's not the point, though.
I suppose that's not the point, because how close it was.
The idea that yes, I am making a foul, but you have the responsibility to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
I think is ridiculous.
Actually, so it's not a goal-scoring opportunity because it's him.
Have you seen him?
And therefore, the defender should have let him. What was the reaction? Well, we saw the reaction from the stands and so on, but I can imagine the reaction in Bilbao today is a lot of chat about that refereeing decision.
But how can you argue about it? Like I said,
because they were up for it, Andy. That's why they feel it's their destiny, and the referees ruined it for them.
Yeah.
They were waving.
Not true,
they were waving white cards from the pre-match tifo at the referee, which is nice to see that they got a second use. Because
love a bit of sustainability.
Exactly,
yeah,
Andy.
Totally.
I'm with you there.
Sustainable tifos. But they're in a big sheet for their tears now.
But I'll tell you something though. When that happens, and
don't get many days like this, do you, Vish?
No,
enjoy it. Enjoy it against 10-man Bilbao.
It's a shame. It's a lovely part of the world. I cannot go to the Basque Country anymore.
But I don't think they know you're there.
Well, this will go viral, won't it? Thank God, Manchester United won again. Thank God they've got their time in the sun.
You are Basque Country, but spelt differently right now.
Yeah, I like it.
Bruno Fernandes is exactly the man you want on a penalty like that. Huge pressure, and he just rolls it into the back of the net.
He actually did me, because I thought he scuffed it.
Yeah.
And when that goal goes in, you saw the fans. They couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. It was almost like a traumatic event for them. And what Manchester United did really well towards the end of that half is they got that third goal, because Bilbao, the city, was all over the place after that.
Yeah,
the atmosphere in the stands, as you say, there was just an element of Brazil Belo Horizonte.
I mean, the noise was incredible, and
every single person in that stadium, other than the away fans and the away team, lost their heads completely.
But you know what they say? It's almost a bit. It is a bit of a cliche, but it's about quietening the crowd, and if we keep them quiet, then we know we're doing well. That's exactly what the third goal did, because the atmosphere there was incredible. Even through the TV, I was like, this is a bucket list place to visit and go and watch football, clearly.
But I think there's also a sense that, despite the fact that Manchester United are frequently ridiculed in England and by Premier League supporters and media to a certain extent, is the fact that they still have aura outside England. And I think that's very notable. They will get to the final, and if they get to the final and win it, they will
win the Europa League.
They will look back at that path, and they can say, okay, you can say it's a weaker Premier League, a weaker Europa League this season because of the teams not falling out of the Champions League. But we've beaten Real Sociedad, we've beaten Lyon, we've beaten Athletic. Those are all good, authentic teams who have either recently been in the Champions League or will be in the Champions League in the near future. But they've all choked.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I don't think United have had to do anything freaky or wild to get there. They've just had to play it straight, which admittedly they're normally not that good at. But I think that's really instructive of the aura that the name of Manchester United still has.
Will Spurs choke in the final, Andy? That's the big question. We'll get to Spurs in just a second. So, I mean, at the end of the game, I think we're probably quite relieved only to lose 3-0. I mean, that's it. I think that Manchester United did well. I think
it could have been way worse.
I don't think they'll regret not getting a fourth, but I think a fourth kills the tie.
They could.
Whereas I think the tie is like very nearly dead.
Yeah, I think they're not going to. I mean, they're going to be against 11 players, which does help in a football match in the next match. But like, they're not. They're going to have to just calm it down a little bit and not go into not start the game like headless chicken. So I think they'll be a completely different. I could see it being a 3-2 narrow kind of advancement for Manchester United.
So we're saying it's not completely dead. We're saying that they're a fox that you've run over in a smart car. For example.
Yet to finish him off with a tyre iron, as Alan Partridge.
I love that. Well, it could well be Spurs in the final. They beat Bodø Glimt 3-1 last night. They were ahead inside just 1 minute. We thought the goals would be flowing. They got the 3. The big story was that Bodø Glimt pulled one back.
Yeah, I mean, if we start at the beginning,
yes,
I think Arsenal fans got a lot of criticism for not making good on the atmosphere that had been promised and was there at kickoff on Tuesday. And I was at the game at Tuesday. I was at this game last night as well. Yeah, it was all right. It was a slightly better one at Spurs. I think we have to give them that.
Oh no, I do. I'm saying that Arsenal. Anyway, carry on.
But I think the fact that about capitalising on the momentum of that early atmosphere. And Spurs did that completely. The noise when that Brennan Johnson goal went in. And I think there must be a bit of you, if you're Arsenal, thinking, if we'd have managed to ride the wave of that atmosphere at the beginning, we would have kept it going. It's the best atmosphere at Spurs. And I go there quite a lot that I can remember in a while. But I think they've massively missed an opportunity here.
Yeah,
because this is a game, whilst playing within themselves a little bit and actually playing quite sensibly, just as they did in the away leg at Eintracht Frankfurt. They had the opportunity to kill this tie stone dead.
I agree with you.
As you say, to win 4 or 5-0, and they just did what they've done in every other European game this season against inferior opposition. They've done it a few times at Spurs in particular, in that they've just eased off for 15 minutes, just enough to, like, at 3-0 is probably dead, a bit like United. 4-0 is definitely dead. 3-1, it's nowhere near dead. It's on. It's on.
You guys want to say it's on?
With that pitch.
No, well, you look at their home record and how different it is to their away record. What a peculiar trip it is. The atmosphere they're going to have, the fact they've got nothing to lose. Of course, Ange Postecoglou is not going to be able to snowball the home fans like Jose Mourinho did because, of course, there's probably not going to be snow, just light drizzle because it's May. But nevertheless, it is quite a unique situation, and they get 3 big players back from suspension.
That's very true. Postecoglou said, Peter, that he wasn't worried about the plastic pitch. He went, I went there with Celtic and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but you're not playing, Ange. But
he's got the sort of shoes where he could.
That's true. That's true.
Spurs do this every now and again, and you highlighted it there when you talked about against inferior opposition, because they get into that mindset of that they're playing an inferior opponent in the game when they're ahead. And yesterday, when they were 3-0 up, a lot of those players started getting selfish, almost wanting their pound of flesh of, God, this is actually quite easy. I want my goal now.
Right.
Like, Udogie had one where he should have pulled it back on the byline, but he ends up cutting back out and having a shot and shooting past the near post. And it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
I think it was like, 75, there's certainly like a decent chunk of time left. And I was like, just go. As to what you said, the fact that they had 3 people out suspended by the Glimt, and also you've got the run of things now. It's going to be different next week in this game right now. Just keep scoring.
And also they've got the energy to keep going.
Yeah.
You've seen in so many games where they've looked like they've done against Olympiacos, against Lazio, and because part of the reason, I mean, they're a good team, they're very fit. They're at a much earlier stage in their season. They're 4 games into the league season, which there couldn't be more of a contrast with where Spurs and Premier League and most big leagues are at. But I think that's the thing, isn't it? That once Bodø Glimt scored, Spurs should have said, right, okay, we need the extra goal.
Yeah.
They had the opportunity. They had that, but they didn't seem to really want to force it. So they had that opportunity with Kulusevski right at the end, which I think they might regret. But then you look at the fact that Maddison, who's massively influential,
and played well last night.
He played really well. Comes off, doesn't look that comfortable. I don't want to start manifesting muscle injuries as well, but Solanke comes off as well.
Yeah, it's concerning.
Doesn't look that comfortable as well. So it's a real concern looking at the second leg of the semi-final and the final, presuming they managed to go on as well. But I mean, when they did the simple things, a little bit like United, when Spurs did the simple things, they did it really, really well. You look at the fact that Postecoglou definitely picks the right team. Richarlison makes a massive difference there. I think we've seen it quite a lot this week in like Rafinha and Dumfries, having someone who's good in the air in a sort of wideish position to knock back long crosses is simple, but it's bloody hard to defend. And we saw that with the early goal as well. And actually, what I love particularly about those first 2 goals in the first half, the touch from Maddison is unbelievable, by the way, before he finishes his goal. But they're 2 goals that Wimbledon could have scored in the 80s.
No, you're right. It seemed very direct.
And they did that, and they were able to make the most of those opportunities because they have much better players than Bodø.
I mean, the fact is, obviously, sort of talking up Bodø Glimt's chances there, and I think rightly so. But I mean, it is a decent lead. It's a 2-goal lead for Spurs, and they are a better side.
Yes.
So we'll see. But I mean, I'll tell you what, though, the Bodø Glimt fans were certainly enjoying themselves before their goal went in, actually. And then you saw them score, and they were thinking, hang on a minute here. But what I loved is we often see banners in the crowd saying, oh, please, can I have your shirt, Grealish, and all this sort of stuff. Whereas a Bodø Glimt fan presumably was making a much more simpler request, because there was a fan in the away end with a banner that just simply said, Wi-Fi password.
Yes. It was massive as well. It's absolutely massive. I'm a big fan of that. More of that, please. I want one that says board rate.
Yeah, come on. I want to know what the Man United score is. I want to know who we're playing in the final.
I'm going to borrow that for when I come in for the show next week.
Yeah, Wi-Fi password.
I mean, it's so many years and you've still not given it to me.
Yeah. Well, with your searching habits, Andy, no wonder. Before the game,
dirty leagues you watch.
Before the
dirty league.
Andy's dirty leagues. OTC nights, we've seen you.
It's not farmers anymore. It's filth bags.
I'm ashamed.
Andy's been caught hanging around with the Azerbaijan League again.
Message to meet lovely strikers in your area. Oh, come on, Andy.
Seriously, Andy, come on. Before the game, journalists were drawing comparisons between this Europa League for Spurs and Erik ten Hag's FA Cup win at Manchester United, and Ange replied, "No, it ain't. Not on any planet is the equivalent."
But is the comparison not because the decision, regardless of whether Ten Hag won the FA Cup, was would he go or would he not? Like, So surely that is the comparison here. If Ange wins the Europa League, Spurs get Champions League, do Spurs then still have to make a decision on whether they sack him or not? Because it might be beneficial if they do get rid of him.
And I think that's why I didn't entertain it, Vish.
Marcus, can we compare it with Sven's win of the UEFA Cup and then the relegation the next season? Is that more of an apt...
You're going through the annals of time there.
I am, yeah. ChatGPT helped me with that one.
They did, yeah. IFK Gothenburg.
Don't mind admitting
Was it 1982?
What's Grok saying about Sven?
Grok's saying a lot of stuff.
Hey.
Leave off Grok.
Yeah.
I'm Grok, the poorly man of AI. Help me. Kill me. I'm Grok. There was a lovely moment, Marcus, in this match where Bettenker smashed the ball at the keeper.
Yes.
And the keeper, after he saved it, it was a lovely save. And he went, ah!
Yes!
And it was so relatable. I was like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
My hands constantly hurt.
It was so weird because usually it's like, because it was a good save. It was like from a corner, wasn't it?
Nice.
At the end of the first half. And it was a good save. And normally everyone does like the Schmeichel or the Pickford of jumping up and shouting at everyone, knowing that the cameras are on them so they look cool and even more imposing and alpha. And this lad was like, ow! What are you doing?
That's not fair.
Is that one of the side effects coming from Northern Norway, Pete?
Yeah.
Is that rather than having goalkeeper gloves, you have mittens on the string?
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
Could be right.
Yeah. Or maybe because, in Northern Norway, the air is like less dense and he's like, it doesn't normally come that hard.
Yeah.
If you pardon the expression. Coming up after this, the magic of the Europa Conference League. We're going on tour, everybody. The Football Ramble time tunnel is coming to a city near you. Glasgow, Newcastle, Birmingham, Manchester and London between the 9th of May and the 17th of May. Click on the link that's just appeared in the top right-hand corner of this video and get your tickets. Don't delay. Get one today.
Human beings sometimes need to get punished.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody.
Sorry, I just need a minute there.
He's now managing in the filth bag league, isn't he? Jurgen.
Yes, indeed. Chelsea host Liverpool on Sunday at 4:30. And of course, Chelsea will be hosting Djurgården next week in the second leg of the Europa Conference League semi-final. They won the first leg 4-1 in Sweden. It was on a plastic pitch. You've got nothing to worry about, Tottenham.
Yeah, what are you worried about?
Shouldn't worry
Absolutely
about anything.
fine.
I tell you
I'm
what,
very
Andy.
excited about playing my first Europa Conference League semi-final next week.
Yes, you could.
Or is it just me or are all of us playing?
I think we could, Andy. I don't think it would make too much of a difference. You were quick to pour water on any
Scone-laced water?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. You were quick to kind of dampen any kind of romance of West Ham winning the Europa Conference League, Andy. How are you going to do that with Chelsea?
I don't know. It's really hard. No, I think the interesting thing. I know we're meant to be talking about this game, but the interesting thing is the other semi, really, isn't it? Because all the way along, you've been wondering how are they going to get anything near a worthy opponent in the final. They are going to get a worthy opponent in the
Real
final.
Betis beat Fiorentina 2-1 in the first leg.
They're going to get a good Betis or a good Fiorentina. And this, as I've said for months, this Fiorentina team is much better than either of the Fiorentina teams that got to the previous Conference League finals. And that's all we can ask for at this stage, I think.
That's all we can ask for.
A nice final.
But we got a goal from Anthony from Real Betis, got the winner.
Yeah, good
What a banger. Oh, my gosh.
Loving life there. He is.
Good player.
To the point of
Should
after,
look into him.
Yeah, after the game, Real Betis legend Joaquin said, "I'll bring the car if Anthony has to be kidnapped, but he has to stay no matter what."
So like, and I suppose this is what this loan spell does, but sometimes it takes, a move away to, for a player to show you what you've missed. This is an example of the Anthony that Manchester United haven't had because it's partly, a lot of it is on Manchester United. And then you have someone cool like Joaquin saying, really complimentary things about him. And it's like, oh, that's annoying. He's got a better friend now.
Yeah,
He's got a cooler friend.
but a higher price tag.
Yeah, good point. Ooh, yeah.
Only going to
good
help,
point.
isn't it?
You've got to think.
Put your bicycle away,
You've got to think
Joaquin.
like Sir Jim.
Yes, Andy, the amount of times I have to say to people, you have to think like Sir Jim. Life is so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much more enjoyable when you think like Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But Chelsea 4-1 away from home. I mean, they certainly responded to that performance, which I think, did Reece James describe his own side's performance as disrespecting the competition when they lost at home to Legia Warsaw? Yeah, so they've certainly responded well there. Nice to to see young George starting up front for Chelsea.
He's looked really good in this competition, hasn't he?
And lovely for Nicholas Jackson to score, to get on the score sheet again so soon after that lovely goal he scored against Everton and scored a beauty in this game. Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's like the inversion of when you haven't scored for a while, you need to put one in with your arse or whatever. He's like, well, actually, you don't need to do that. You need to score a banger. And I'm going to score a banger. And then I'm going to score another one.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Enzo Maresca rested a lot of players for this game. He made 8 changes to his starting lineup, and I mean,
he can do that.
Yes,
with that squad.
Indeed, he can. I mean, I don't think anybody has felt so confident in a team winning a trophy before. Although, as Andy says, they will be playing a decent opponent in the final. So we shall see about that.
Is there not a cap on how many medals you get allocated in a final?
Oh yeah, I think there is, isn't there? Don't you have to buy more or something? Didn't Liverpool?
Oh, that's it.
Didn't Liverpool only
something
get
like
a certain amount?
Yeah.
No, you're right. It is the case. Yeah. Why? Who are you worried about?
I don't know, like half the squad.
Okay, all right.
They could legitimately play in one of the matches and just not get their little medal.
Who are you thinking is a candidate to get a plastic one?
Ooh.
João Felix.
Well, Chelsea are on course to become the first team to win all 3 major European trophies. So, there's something.
What, in history? It'd be weird if you won it all in one season, I suppose. But in the entirety of history, it would be a real
very
swerve.
suspicious, wouldn't it?
Then you'd have a medal problem, wouldn't you?
I know, you'd be able to get everybody involved.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
But they can't just keep inventing new European competitions for people to win.
No, but
can they?
you've had 3 European competitions for many years now.
Okay.
And so I suppose there's sort of the equivalents. But I mean, Chelsea did win the Cup Winners' Cup as well. You know, if you want to go down that route, Peter.
Right. So they won Champions League, they won Cup Winners' Cup. They didn't win the UEFA Cup.
Well, they won the Europa League.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Does that count as a separate one?
No, I think you're so
Let's
don't worry.
talk fairs.
Yeah, I was going to say Newcastle have got one of them.
Safe.
Don't worry. You're a third of the way there, as John Bon Jovi didn't sing. But apparently, by the way, we've just heard that 50 medals are given. What has I just heard? The producer just put it in the doc.
ChatGPT, did Grok tell you?
Yeah,
has Grok been in your ear?
News in, it's going to be 50 medals. That will include staff.
But I think Pete has been texted to ask if he can fire up the 3D printer as well.
Oh, yeah, that's a point. Can I get a medal?
I could make you a little medal, yeah.
The runners-up Fulham one, 2010.
Runners-up 2010. All right, I'll make you
can
one.
I get a
Lovely.
runners-up medal? Because I don't want to wear it. I just take you, and you pretend to put it on me, but I grab it.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to winning.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
losing.
I think I think you guys need to be investing in the resin that I'm going through.
Right.
10 quid a roll. Thank you very much. I've had to. My
Resin
3D
comes in rolls?
for these, yeah, the little sort of thing.
Oh, they're not, yeah,
it gets extruded into a 3D print.
Your house must smell like shit.
If you have a pooping plastic robot in it, yeah, it does. But I mean, just a hot plastic.
Right. To be fair, it does deflect from the smell of piss, though.
Oh,
That's in the car. It's in the driveway. Leave it.
FootballRambleLive.com if you want to see some of the many things. FootballRambleLive.com if you want to see many of the things I've printed on my 3D printer in the last month.
And Pete might give you a lift home as well.
In my 3D printed car.
And a Conference League winners medal.
Yeah, and a winner's medal.
Lift home, winners medal, a great live show.
Yeah.
What more do you bleeding want?
Exactly.
Come on.
How did he print a Honda Jazz?
Did you see that Cole Palmer was seen running out of Stamford Bridge after Chelsea's last game?
Yeah.
On the weekend.
Being chased by people who... I just wanted... Imagine the scenario where if Palmer stopped and was like, what do you want? He's like, don't know.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Was it just he wanted to get out of... He wanted to get somewhere quickly and he didn't want to be stopped by people, so he thought, I'm just going to run because I'll just be... people want my... my autograph or
John Hancock.
selfies and stuff.
Because it's West London, it kind of makes me think of the opening scene of Austin Powers, where he's like running away from like screaming
Sexy
fans.
ladies,
Is that on Carnaby Street? Is
Hmm?
that on Carnaby Street you're talking about?
No, it's Kensington, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Cole Palmer did talk about having a disguise recently, didn't he? Where he might sort of... He said that even if he has like a hood up and his eyes are showing, he says people still recognise him.
Right.
Which I think to myself, is the zip going there? Do you think that it's covering
It's the
your...
breathing.
It's not Alex... Yeah.
It's the mouth breathing call.
It's the turning round... Yeah. Maybe that's... Or the turning...
How did you know?
Or the turning round to Chelsea team that's just going, what are you doing? Why do I have to sort this
the
out?
general level of anger.
It's not Alex Iwobi playing five-a-side, though, is it?
No, that is a lovely
not
touch.
true. Lovely
Yeah,
touch.
proper disguised.
Also, did they ever
But then he
find out-
gave away his disguise. He told everyone exactly what he wears.
Yeah.
When he plays 5-a-side, I thought, But then what you
But do you think he wanted that thing of sometimes when you play like a different team in 5-a-side,
You want them to know who you are.
no, but when you're like, oh, you might overhear or they might overhear you say like, God, that number 6 was quality, wasn't he? And he was. Oh, it'd be great if they knew that was Alex Iwobi.
Yeah,
he's a good player, yeah. Despite what I tweet, he is a good player, yeah.
Indeed.
Remember
Vish.
that.
Indeed. Well, Chelsea are playing against Liverpool on the weekend. Liverpool's, will Chelsea have to do a guard of honour?
They'd love that, wouldn't they?
They would love
Yeah.
that.
They do that, don't they? Isn't
Yeah,
that that's usually the gentleman's agreement, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah, they did a guard of honour for Leicester City that time, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Perhaps they could just reframe it as a corridor of applause, like we have done in the
Yeah,
past.
the corridor of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They did one for, and Manchester United have done one for Chelsea, but there's the famous one, well, I would say famous, but the funny one where Chelsea do it to Manchester United and Manchester United have made wholesale changes into their team. So it's like Kieran Lee, Chris Eagles, Kieran Richardson, Dong Fangju.
Brilliant.
Even Darren Ferguson played, didn't he?
No, he didn't because he doesn't believe in nepotism.
Okay, right. Let's see. Well, anyway, Liverpool, of course, are the Premier League champions, and their title celebrations caused a series of very small tremors last weekend. The seismic activity peaked at 1.74 on the Richter scale when Alexis McAllister scored. That is low, but it's still of note.
Yeah.
But everything makes a tremor. This is the thing.
Go on, then you do one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's Pete.
Done. Sorry.
Yeah.
Stealing my thunder.
Again.
Still in my earthquake.
Yeah. Well, Liverpool are reportedly prioritising a left-sided defender and a new centre-forward this summer with Darwin Núñez expected to leave. The Saudi clubs are circling for him, Andy.
Well, where else would he go, quite frankly?
Wrexham. Because apparently Jamie Vardy's not interested. Yeah, an interesting one. I mean, that left-sided defender, just stay away.
Do they mean a left back or do they mean a left-sided centre back?
I think. Well, there was.
They don't need a centre back, do they? But
Let's just talk about a left.
You
back.
were just about to say stay away from Anthony Robinson, weren't you?
Yes.
Could you say that Milos Kerkez is the best thing to happen to Fulham this season?
Maybe I might chain myself to Anthony. So you get two left backs.
Change yourself to the right, Anthony, though.
That's just, I don't know. A bit warmer
Nice little holiday.
Is the Kirkes thing feels like a better fit, doesn't it? Because of his age, and therefore it's not quite a direct competitor for
That's right.
for Robinson. So you can have them both in the squad, but then Robinson and Robertson. Not only
Similar names, you get confusing.
and that's the other thing.
Way
as well,
too
you get
confusing,
confused.
yeah.
Picking up each other's posts, committing felonies by opening each other's posts. It's an unsavoury issue that
Yes.
I think could rip that club apart, and that's why I think you should have.
Well, fair enough, old boy. Well, yes, staying with Chelsea if we can for a moment. Brentford did them a favour last night, beating Nottingham Forest 2-0 at the City Ground. That, of course, means that Chelsea stay in 5th position. And Forest are now 6th. They are on the same points as Chelsea. It's all to play for.
It's in their own hands, you'd probably say, though, because Chelsea's running is pretty difficult and Forest do play them as well. So
Yeah, the
I mean,
last game of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which
Still
Forest
there,
Chelsea.
isn't it? That's going to be a good one.
It is important to say, Pete, but they have lost 3 of the last 4 in the league, Forest, and they lost that semi-final.
They look knackered.
And they do look
absolutely
knackered. And
Uncharacteristically terrible defending as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for Forest, they're 6th, obviously. Villa in 7th. Villa have got Fulham as well on the weekend. But
Come on, Forest.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Come on.
It's weird. It would feel like a little bit of an anticlimax, or a bit of a shame for them if they didn't clinch a Champions League spot. And obviously, it would be incredible if they were in the Champions League. The consolation would be that if they did end up in, say, the Europa Conference
They
League,
could actually win it.
they could actually win it.
Yeah.
That's probably
Do you know what I mean?
You'd probably argue that judging them on their squad and what they've done in previous seasons in the Premier League, it's probably about their level, and so maybe Championship, Champions League was a bit too high for them anyway.
Well, Europa League as well. I mean, with what Spurs and Manchester United have done this season, that would be a chance.
True.
But yeah,
the chairman
I
said,
agree.
like, quite rightly, that his target has been all the way European football, but it's just taking a bit more time. It's for the neutral, it's such a shame. I'd want them in the Champions League. That'd be so weird.
Well, as you said, Peter, it's still in their hands. There's still a chance. Great win for Brentford, though. If Manchester City do sap any magic out of the FA Cup that's left and beat Crystal Palace in that final, then 8th spot in the Premier League will be Europa Conference League, and Brentford are in the race for that.
You know what I think this has made very clear, this game, in the way that Brentford performed. And by the way, Wissa's finish was magnificent, even if it was a bad error by Milenkovic, which we're unused to. It makes it clear that Brentford are Ramble listeners, because they've listened to Tuesday's show and they thought, yeah, maybe we will have 8th place. Maybe it will be valuable. Spellers sold it to us.
Yeah, the Fulham fan sold it to them, definitely. You're welcome, everybody. Coming up after this, we find out the true story behind the Honda Jazz on the pitch at Matlock Town. Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Now, before we go any further, we wanted to say a massive, massive congratulations to Upfront's Chloe Morgan. Last night, she was named Women's Football Champion of the Year at the Women's Football Awards. That is a huge accolade indeed.
Go on.
So it's an incredible
award.
I know, it really is. Like that, if you're unfamiliar with that, trust us, that's a biggie. That really is huge. So incredible achievement. So from all of us at the Ramble, well bloody done, Chloe.
Did you 3D print it?
You can get more from Chloe and Rachel every single week over on Upfront. Just search Upfront in your podcast app for that goodness. Right, on to the Premier League. Brighton versus Newcastle on Sunday at 2 p.m. Huge game in the race for the Champions League and the race for 8th, if the race for 8th is relevant.
Because we are really clutching it this season.
The race for 8.
Race for 8. Put it on a graphic.
Which may or may not...
Tifo the
Well, yeah, you're looking forward to it, Peter, aren't you?
I'm looking forward to every Newcastle match at the moment.
Even though Joel Linton is set to miss the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's been carrying an injury for a little while, and but with him, you just sort of think, does he need like joints? Because he's just kind of like just barges into people and just goes, give me that ball back.
Yeah, he's just one big muscle. Is that what
he's just one big muscle, one big lovely muscle. So
yes.
It's a shame, but I think they've probably got enough.
Yeah, no, but it would be huge. I mean, Newcastle are currently 3rd, for crying out loud.
I think much like we saw Bilbao sort of lose their heads a little bit in the last stage of the European tournament, I would like to see Newcastle enter a Champions League group stage everything's not new to them, and they've sort of played there before, and you know.
You've got a couple of extra matches. Shall I find your mark?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice. And Murphy is a seasoned Champions League operator by then. So
that's right.
That's essentially riffing on the League Cup thing, isn't it? It wasn't as novel this time around. Therefore, you're able to be a better version of yourself.
Have a cooler head.
That's definitely true. Yeah, I think so. But they are only 2 points above Forest in 6th, so it is all to play for. But Brighton themselves, I mean, yes, they finally won. You know, they'd lost or drawn their previous 5 games, but I mean, it was very late against a very poor West Ham side.
Far from convincing.
Yes, so we shall see what that effect has on them, because Brighton have been very poor recently, and Newcastle, despite that gubbing by Aston Villa, they've won 5 of their last 6.
Well, they've always been in a position post Carabao Cup that they have been, right, if we win the home games, we'll be fine. We'll qualify for the Champions League, which has put them in quite a good position, and maybe that allows them to play with a little bit more freedom. Look, I really fancy them to get a result in this, because I think if you go back to the condition in which Fabian Hutzler picked up Brighton in, the fact that he's coaching a top-flight team for the first time, I think a transitional season is more than acceptable. And some of the stick that he's got recently, I find a bit unusual. What do you really expect as a Brighton fan, especially with that logjam at the very top? Yeah. If they were to finish 8th, I think that would be a great result. But of course, there's just this logjam is meaning that, as you were saying, you know, we had a section earlier in the week about the battle for 8th. I mean, you know, you can laugh about it, but this is where the Premier League is. You know, there's such a jam there, isn't there? And this is without United and Spurs being competitive in a Premier League sense. This is with Palace having potential to go for that, but only really playing half a good season, if that. So, I mean, I think with Brighton, they've always been a little bit in danger of being in that sort of, in that Swansea slot, you know, of having done something really good and people going, well, where's the next bit? Or where's the progress from here? But I think that there are a couple of things with Brighton. Firstly, the fact that Hutzler's new, and he's not just a coach for this year. He should be a coach for the next 2 or 3 years for Brighton if it goes well. And they're always sort of vulnerable, of course, to losing coaches and players, and they always seem to have their ducks in a row. But we can talk about how organised Brighton are and how good they are at bringing players in, and I know you guys touched on that earlier in the week. The one thing that I would have disagreed with in that sum up, I think Brighton's model is under extreme pressure because I think other clubs now, when they want to go and buy the next Mitoma or Carlos Baleba, we're like, there is no fucking way we are selling you a player for 10 million and watching you sell him for 80 million in a year's time. So if you look at when they got Baleba, for example, they got charged way more than they would have just 6 months or 12 months before. So being Brighton is more expensive than it used to be. And, you know, you made that joke about people shadowing their scouts. They are fishing in the same pool as some really big clubs now. I think it's tougher being Brighton than it has been in a while.
The scouts should disguise themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
get some tips off Cole Palmer.
Yeah, or try and throw them off the scent. Like, who are you looking at? Well, there's this winger called Harry Maguire I'm really interested in. But the interesting thing about, I mean, I agree with everything that Andy said there, particularly the stuff about the logjam, because I think from speaking to Brighton fans that I know, a lot of the issue has been that they felt they've been doing things not just the right way, but a different way to get in a position where they can break into and establish themselves as a regular top 7, top 6 side. And the annoyance has come from the fact that they feel like they've been waiting in a queue, and then like the likes of Forest, Newcastle to a point, Aston Villa have just jumped ahead of them, and they were like, shit, we're in the wrong queue.
Yeah.
And actually, we might be the only person queuing in this queue because this isn't being tended to. Because
But they're at the front of it.
Yeah, well, that's true.
The one-man queue.
So, what you said about the model and stuff like that. Yeah, they're doing that. But even Brentford are doing it in a slightly different way. But they're a bit further back, so they feel a bit better about that. But then, Marinakis and Forest, or the way that Villa are doing it, or Newcastle, and the fact that they're not even actually spending, but they're like, God, he's fucking brilliant, isn't he? We just keep hold of him and, tidy up stuff around him.
On Tuesday, we talked about the Honda Jazz that drove right by the pitch in front of the stand in a game between Lancaster City and Matlock Town. We thought the driver was lost. That's why he was driving around there. Well, Peter, we had an email to clarify it.
This is from Lancaster City's head of media, David Hall. He actually got in touch on email to clarify. I have the explanation of the car on the ground.
Whoa.
Next to the stand where the video was filmed by one of my media volunteers, Luke, is the clubhouse to the ground. Before the game, they had a singer on in said clubhouse, and he had to get to his next gig, so he had to exit the ground during the game, and the only way in and out of the ground was the access road, which goes around the pitch. Made us laugh anyway, and just great work with the Honda Jazz.
Yeah, I think
Good
so.
car.
It's a good car.
It's roomy.
It's much maligned.
Yeah.
And it's for older people, but it shouldn't be.
Well, no one said that.
No,
you've added that.
I've said
You've
that.
maligned it there.
Yeah, I'm saying it's much maligned. I'm maligning it.
Should not have been outed as the culprit.
Yeah.
How much money have you put into that car? Very little, I imagine.
No.
No, that's a good thing if you put no money into it.
I was about to talk about pound coins in the little thing.
The trolleys.
I've had to put quite a bit of money in there because people keep stealing my catalytic converter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
It's got like a zombified catalytic converter. How many catalytic converters have you
Why
gone
are you
through?
asking so many questions about
I want
it?
your catalytic converter. It sounds like a delicious catalytic converter.
All these precious metals you're
I want
after.
your platinum. Give me your platinum. Yeah. All right. It's time for this.
Dean Smith also said you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
Last week on Jackson Encyclopedia, Luke edged Marcus 2-1. Hello. Steady, lads. Not that kind of show. It's a simple game of categories. As you well know, we're going to kick things off with you, Honda Jazz owner of the year 2018, Vish.
The champ, the current belt
The
holders.
champ, I know, yeah. It's just good to see you back defending it, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I don't know what you were doing without me, but I did
Hot
enjoy
shotting it. Hot shotting it
I hope
around.
people listened.
Unbelievable. I would like the 21 highest scoring Premier League players in the last 10 seasons cumulatively.
Oh.
The 21 highest scoring Premier League players in the last 10 seasons.
Harry Kane.
Harry Kane. Correct.
Erling Haaland.
Erling Haaland's up there.
I suddenly panicked and thought, he's only been playing.
Mo Salah.
He's in there.
21 players.
21 players to choose from. Plenty of player meat to get your teeth into.
What if you've forgotten a lot of the players' names?
Yeah, that is a problem.
That's a problem
bit of
for
an
this
issue.
game. Yeah, a bit of an issue in this game.
It's not easy, this.
But it should be.
I know, but it's not.
Callum Wilson must be in there.
He's in there.
Well played.
Right.
Alphabetically top of the tree.
Yes. Double ding.
I'll have Hyun-Min Son.
He's in there. Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Can I have Bruno Fernandes, por favor?
Ooh.
No!
Not in
I'm
there.
surprised at
He's
that.
not in there. I'm surprised at that too, to be honest.
Give him more pens.
Give him more pens for crying out loud.
Marcus Rashford.
Correct.
Sadio Mane.
Sadio Mane. Correct.
Who does goals?
Some people do.
Bobby Firmino.
Oh,
Well played.
like it.
I wasn't sure about Bobby. I stayed away.
No, I wasn't, but
For you. It was right. It was right.
Right.
I will have a wee punt with a player.
Marcus.
This is club call vibes, isn't it?
Yeah. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Correct.
Very good.
That's
Very
a good one. Raheem Sterling.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, well played, you wanker. 10 seasons.
By the way, Andy, Bruno Fernandes was 2 goals from making the list. So close, but no cigar. Marcus?
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League.
Sergio Aguero. Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, that
course.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fish.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline has been written.
Eden Hazard? Probably not. Yeah.
No. Can we have one from you, Marcus,
Hopefully.
to take the round?
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The
Kevin De Bruyne.
Correct.
Oh, gets in
Got
there.
the round.
We've
Well
been there
done,
for pretty
Marcus.
much a whole decade.
I was
hasn't
ramming
he?
an hour
Yeah.
about Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne.
I can't help but think that there'll be a lot of people at home or at work or wherever they listen to the Football Ramble,
Yeah.
just sort of shouting at their radios / MP3 players / whatever.
They do that before this.
Yeah, but but you're saying there's a name we missed, an obvious one, is there?
There's loads.
Go on then.
Chris Wood, Gabriel Jesus,
Do you know Jesus I had in my...
Jamie Vardy,
Jamie Vardy!
Ollie Watkins,
Yeah.
Richarlison, Riyad Mahrez, Romelu Lukaku, and Wilfried Zaha.
Wow.
Richarlison.
Wow.
Richarlison, Lukaku and Wilfried Zaha.
Get 10 a
I'd be
season for
surprised.
10 years and you're up there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd be surprised though
good
if you're
shout.
guessing those ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, tricky.
All right, everyone back in. And Marcus,
Yes.
you are next. Every team in the top 4 of Europe's top 5 leagues going into this weekend, I will tell you what those top 5 leagues are, because young Clive thinks that the Dutch is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Every team in the top 4 of Europe's top 5 leagues going into this weekend, that's Ligue 1, Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, and the Premier League.
Looking at you for this one, Brassel.
As in teams.
Yeah.
Teams.
I love Liverpool.
Good boy. Good lad.
Newcastle United.
Napoli.
Arsenal.
Inter.
Real Madrid.
Manchester City. Doubted myself
You're
for that one.
you're wasting all your prems.
Ah, just,
You're
you know,
taking all the prems up.
I want to stay in as long as possible before I do something stupid, Peter.
Atletico.
Have we had?
I don't know. You have to just, you know. Have we had?
Barcelona.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not? I'll have Athletic Club Bilbao, please.
You can have it.
Thanks. This is all about you today, Brassel.
Yeah.
Can I have Marseille?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Mew.
Mew.
Ooh.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions
Juventus?
Oh, lucky sausage.
It's hard though when you sort of...
It's trying to remember the teams.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone said PSG yet, have they?
Correct.
Can I just assume they had?
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, why not, Andy? Break that seal.
Break the German seal.
By Leverkusen.
Yep. And this is where I'm struggling.
Should save your Premier Leagues back.
Yep, I would have been out if I hadn't done that. So...
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline
Bologna.
written.
Are they in there?
Nope.
They're fifth, are they?
So close.
That's so...
Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yeah, I thought I'll leave you the German ones, Brassel.
RB Leipzig?
I knew they were fifth. That's why I stayed.
Really?
Yep.
Really? And those
Brassel
facts
wins.
really get sick. Well done, Brass. Whoa, sorry.
Point to
Nearly dropped my-
Brassel.
Got so excited, nearly dropped my coffee. Andy doesn't win a lot of rounds.
No.
Are Strasbourg in the top four in France?
No.
No, they're not.
okay.
Monaco, Lille, and
Monaco!
Freiburg.
I'll tell you what, though. Did all right there.
Yeah,
it's good.
23 left. Oh, sorry, Atalanta as well.
Ah, they were
There
the...
we go.
Yeah,
There we
I
go.
couldn't think of the
Apologies.
bastard.
All right, Andy, let's have you. So what are we looking at? We're looking at, you've got one, Andy,
haven't
and
got
you've got
any.
one, Marcus, and Vish is sat in his Honda Jazz having a little cry. Andy, every player to score 5 or more Champions League goals this season. Every player to score 5 or more Champions League goals this season.
Seru Girassi.
Does not include qualifying rounds, you pervert. Sorry, go on.
Seru Girassi.
Correct.
Rafinha.
Harry Kane. Yes. Thank you, lads. Thank you.
Robert Lewandowski.
Robert Lewandowski. There he is, yeah.
Ademola Lookman.
Lautaro Martinez, surely.
He has.
Jamal Musiala.
Oh, Andy
fucking
Brassel.
Oh, dear.
I am surprised at that.
Oh, dear. I can see the producers clicking on a link that's been included in the list just to double
Yep,
check
yep,
because
yep,
it doesn't.
yep.
It sounds like he should have done.
Does sound like it.
Vish.
Marmouche.
Ooh, no. Oh,
Shame.
Erling Haaland?
Erling Haaland has indeed.
We didn't have Erling
My
Haaland.
goodness, you didn't have Erling Haaland, so that means
Come on!
well done, Marcus.
Thank you very much. Hand over those belts, old boy.
Yeah. Unzip.
I'm done with them. You can have them. You will have to dry clean them.
What are these stains?
Oh dear. You could have had Griezmann, Saka, Wirtz, Jonathan David,
Oh, these are
Rodrigo,
really famous players.
Santiago Jimenez, Alvarez, Adeyemi, Mbappe, Yamal, Elise, Dembele, Pavlidis, Gyökeres, and
Look, no one's heard of these players.
Vinicius Junior. Anyone?
Vinicius Junior.
Vinicius Junior.
A lot of names.
He
I don't
burned
know
me
why I
in an
thought
earlier one.
Marmouche.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it was going to go to a tiebreaker, a delicious tiebreaker I've got down here, but that will have to wait until next time.
I feel that, we called me the Man United of this game last week, former glories and so on. Well, after last night, baby, Man United are back. And I'm looking over there at Manchester City in the descendancy now.
So we know that
Descendancy.
as we do every season, we have a title.
Yeah.
We have a title settler at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So you can have it for a month.
Thanks. It's a month more than I thought I'd get.
You know what?
Wait, Man United are still the FA Cup holders for another couple of weeks.
It's a good point. I should celebrate that. Part of me would have thought it would have been nice. I'm glad I've lost it to you and not Luke. But I'm also extra glad that he will be listening to this.